Welcome to Human Science, your go-to channel for uncovering the secrets of the human body. Today, we'll take you on a fascinating journey through our respiratory system. Get ready to explore every corner, from the main airways to the alveoli, where the magic of gas exchange happens. In this video, we'll understand how each breath keeps us alive and active. If you're ready to discover how this incredible system works, stay with us. The respiratory system is the gateway to one of the most vital elements for our existence: oxygen. We'll start with an overview of the different parts of the respiratory system and understand how they work together to ensure oxygen reaches every cell in our body. We'll explore the nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and finally, the lungs. Each part plays a crucial role in this complex yet perfectly orchestrated process. The nose and nasal cavity. Let's start at the beginning. The nose. This seemingly simple organ performs complex tasks. The nose is not only an entryway for air but also an efficient filtering system. The nostrils and nasal hairs trap dust, pollen, and other harmful particulates, preventing them from entering our lungs. Inside the nasal cavity, the inhaled air is humidified and warmed by a mucous membrane rich in blood vessels. This is essential because air that is too cold or too dry could damage delicate lung tissues. The nasal cavity is divided by the nasal septum and contains the conchae, which increase surface area and enhance filtration. The pharynx and larynx. Continuing, the air passes through the pharynx, a crossroad between the respiratory and digestive systems. It's divided into the nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. Here, the epiglottis ensures that food and liquids go toward the esophagus and not the lungs. The larynx, following the pharynx, contains the vocal cords and is crucial for sound production. The vocal cords, composed of muscle and elastic tissue, adjust to produce different pitches and volumes. The larynx also protects the airway during swallowing by covering the glottis with the epiglottis. The trachea. The air then travels through the trachea, a tube reinforced by C-shaped cartilage rings that prevent collapse. The trachea is lined with ciliated mucosa that captures and moves particles upwards, protecting the lungs. The trachea bifurcates into the right and left primary bronchi, marking the start of the branching network that distributes air throughout the lungs. The bronchi and bronchioles. Upon reaching the lungs, the bronchi further branch into smaller bronchioles. The bronchioles lack cartilage and are surrounded by smooth muscle, which regulates airflow. This network ensures that air reaches all parts of the lung tissue. The bronchi and bronchioles are lined with mucosa to continue protecting the respiratory system. The lungs and alveoli. Inside the lungs, we find millions of tiny sacs called alveoli, surrounded by capillaries. The alveoli are where gas exchange happens. Their thin walls allow oxygen to diffuse into the blood, where it binds to hemoglobin in red blood cells. Simultaneously, carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the alveoli to be expelled during exhalation. This process relies on the principle of diffusion, driven by differences in gas concentrations. The diaphragm. The diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle separating the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity, is essential for breathing. When it contracts, it moves downward, increasing the thoracic cavity's volume and creating negative pressure to draw air in. The intercostal muscles between the ribs also assist in expanding the rib cage. During exhalation, the diaphragm relaxes and moves upward, decreasing the thoracic volume and pushing air out. The diaphragm's movement is vital for effective respiration. We've explored the structure and function of the various parts of the respiratory system. Now we have a better understanding of how each single breath results from a complex and fascinating teamwork among the nose. Inspiration. The breath of life. Inspiration is the phase of the respiratory cycle in which oxygen-rich air is inhaled into the lungs. This process begins with a command from the respiratory center in the brain, specifically the medulla oblongata, which stimulates the diaphragm and intercostal muscles. When the diaphragm contracts, it moves downward, and the external intercostal muscles contract, lifting the ribcage. This movement expands the thoracic cavity, increasing its volume and creating a negative pressure relative to the external environment. This pressure difference causes air to flow through the airways and fill the lungs. During inspiration, air passes through the nose or mouth, traveling through the pharynx and larynx, and into the trachea. From there, the air divides into the bronchi, spreads into the bronchioles, and finally reaches the alveoli in the lungs. In the alveoli, oxygen passes through the thin alveolar walls and enters the surrounding capillaries, where it binds to hemoglobin in red blood cells, ready to be transported to all the body's cells. Expiration, removing carbon dioxide. Expiration is the process by which carbon dioxide-rich air is expelled from the lungs. This phase of the respiratory cycle is largely passive. When the diaphragm and intercostal muscles relax, the volume of the thoracic cavity decreases, creating a positive pressure that pushes air out of the lungs. This airflow follows the reverse path, from the alveoli, through the bronchioles, bronchi, and trachea, to the larynx and pharynx, and then is expelled through the nose or mouth. Carbon dioxide, a waste product of cellular metabolism, must be effectively removed from the body. In the alveoli, carbon dioxide diffuses from the capillaries into the alveolar air, thanks to the concentration gradient between the blood and alveolar air. This process is crucial for maintaining the acid-base balance in the blood and preventing the buildup of harmful gases. Regulation of breathing, a precise control system. Our body regulates breathing precisely and continuously to respond to varying metabolic needs. The respiratory center, located in the brainstem, monitors oxygen, carbon dioxide, and pH levels in the blood through chemoreceptors located in the aortic arch, carotid bodies, and the brain itself. When an increase in carbon dioxide or a decrease in oxygen is detected, the respiratory center increases the rate and depth of breathing to correct these imbalances. This control system is so effective that it can respond instantly to the body's needs during physical exercise, stress, or other conditions requiring increased oxygen intake. For instance, during intense physical activity, the body produces more carbon dioxide and requires more oxygen. Chemoreceptors detect these changes and send signals to the respiratory center to increase pulmonary ventilation, ensuring adequate oxygen supply to active muscles and removal of excess carbon dioxide. The role of the diaphragm and accessory muscles. While the diaphragm is the primary muscle of respiration, other accessory muscles come into play when the body requires increased ventilation. The internal and external intercostal muscles, abdominal muscles and neck muscles, such as the sternocleidomastoid and scalene muscles, can be involved to increase the capacity for inspiration and expiration. During forced breathing, such as during intense physical activity or respiratory emergencies, these muscles work together to increase the volume of air inhaled and exhaled. Breathing and health. Effective breathing is essential for overall health and well-being. Respiratory issues such as asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and lung infections can seriously impair the body's ability to obtain sufficient oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. It is crucial to recognize and treat these conditions promptly to maintain optimal respiratory function. Moreover, practices like diaphragmatic breathing, deep breathing, and relaxation techniques can improve respiratory efficiency, reduce stress, and promote a better quality of life. Maintaining good respiratory health through regular physical exercise, avoiding smoking and pollution, and following a balanced diet helps keep our respiratory system in excellent condition. Now that we have explored in detail the process of breathing, from the mechanics of inspiration and expiration to the precise regulation by the body, we can appreciate even more the importance of each breath. Breathing is a complex and fascinating process, fundamental to our survival and well-being. Stay tuned for more insights on our channel, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to continue discovering the secrets of the human body.